there's a pricing mistake that can cost a Northern Virginia seller $50,000, $100,000, or in some luxury markets, potentially even more. And it is not an expensive renovation that buyers do not appreciate. It's not bad photography or poor staging. This pricing strategy that sounds completely reasonable when you first hear it is this: let's start high, we can always come down later. That sentence has cost Northern Virginia sellers a tremendous amount of money. Maybe it's a colonial in Burke, or maybe it's a townhouse near the Silver Line in Reston. Perhaps it's a condo in National Landing, maybe an older detached home in Waynewood, or even a luxury property in McLean or Great Falls. While the neighborhood changes, the mistake does not. The seller chooses an aspirational price, the market rejects it. The seller reduces the price and then reduces it again and again. By the time the home finally reaches the number that buyers were willing to pay in the first place, the listing has lost momentum, urgency, credibility, and negotiating leverage. That is what I call the dangerous price reduction spiral. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how it happens in Northern Virginia. Most sellers are not being unreasonable. They're trying to protect their equity. They're thinking, I don't want to leave money on the table. Completely understandable. But there's a major difference between protecting your equity and testing an imaginary number. The market does not pay you based on what you hope to receive. It pays you based on how your property compares to the alternatives that are available at the exact moment that you go on the market. And in Northern Virginia, those alternatives can change dramatically within a relatively short geographic distance. That is why Northern Virginia pricing is so unforgiving. People often talk about the Northern Virginia housing market as though it is one market. It is not. It's dozens of overlapping micro markets. A $1.2 million buyer in North Arlington may accept a smaller lot, an older home, limited storage, and a modest kitchen with no garage. Why? Because that buyer may care deeply about walkability, metro access in North Arlington, proximity to DC, and a shorter commute. But take that same $1.2 million budget to Fairfax Station, Springfield, or Burke, and this buyer may now expect more square footage, a larger lot, a finished basement, a two-car garage, a quieter subdivision, and more separation from the neighbors. Same budget, completely different lifestyle. And if a seller prices a Springfield home as though it were in Falls Church City, or a Fairfax townhouse as though it were near Clarendon, buyers will notice this immediately. Metro access absolutely matters in Northern Virginia, but sellers sometimes misunderstand how that metro premium works. So let's say you own a condo or townhouse near the Orange Line. You know that proximity to metro creates value, but your buyer is not only comparing your home against other properties in your immediate neighborhood, that buyer may be comparing Roslyn, Courthouse, Clarendon, Virginia Square, Ballston, East Falls Church, West Falls Church. The same thing happens along the Silver Line of the metro. A buyer considering Tyson's might also be looking at Reston Town Center. A buyer looking in Reston may consider Herndon, and a buyer who's willing to commute farther may compare that home against newer options out in Ashburn. The opening of the Silver Line extension expanded this conversation, but it did not eliminate competition. It created more alternatives. And once your home becomes the obvious overpriced outlier, the metro station alone will not save you. Now, I also hear sellers reference major economic drivers like Amazon HQ2, National Landing, Silver Line, Tyson's redevelopment, data centers in Loudoun County, government contracting, low inventory. All of these trends matter, but a macro trend is not a blank check for your individual home. A condo seller in Crystal City cannot simply say, well, Amazon is here, so my unit must be worth $75,000 more than the evidence suggests. And Loudoun County sellers cannot price a 10-year-old townhouse as though it were competing in a vacuum, when buyers may be comparing it against brand new construction nearby. Local economic momentum creates opportunity, but it does not repeal the laws of supply, demand, condition, and competition. When your home first hits the market, you have something incredibly valuable: attention. Your listing is new. Every active buyer receives an alert. Buyer agents notice it. Military families preparing for a PCS move, they see it. Families targeting a particular school pyramid will see it, and people moving into the area from New York, New Jersey, California, Florida, or even overseas will see the home online. And for a brief period, everybody who might care about your home is paying attention at the same time. And that concentration of attention is your leverage, and you only get it once. Now, here's where the problem can become uncomfortable. Your home goes active on Thursday, then Friday passes, Saturday passes, the open house was quieter than expected, and then Sunday evening arrives. No offers. Maybe there were a few showings, but not enough. Maybe the online views look respectable, but the buyers are just not scheduling appointments. Maybe agents are giving vague feedback. Nice home, good location. My clients are still thinking about it. So then the seller thinks and says, maybe buyers just have not found the listing yet. But in most cases, that is not what happened. They found it, they rejected it. That is a difficult truth, but it is an important one. In Northern Virginia, and in every area of Northern Virginia, every price point has a buyer pool. And those buyer pools are not unlimited. So let's use a realistic Fairfax County example. Imagine a detached home that the evidence suggests should sell somewhere around $925,000. The seller wants to start at $1,050,000. What happens? The seller immediately loses buyers who are capped below $1 million. And that includes people who might have loved their house. It includes buyers whose agents configured automatic searches below 7 figures. It includes buyers whose lender approvals or personal comfort levels stopped at $950,000 or $999,000, $999,000. Those buyers may never even see the listing. And now the seller is competing for buyers who can comfortably spend above $1 million. But those buyers have more choices. Those buyers may consider Vienna, Falls Church, Fairfax City, Oakton, parts of Arlington, newer townhomes near the metro. So now the seller has moved the home into a more demanding competitive category without improving the house. That's how a property lands in a dead zone. Too expensive for the natural buyer pool, not compelling enough for the next buyer pool. School pyramids add another layer. A seller might say, our home feeds into a highly sought after school pyramid. And yes, that is important. But buyers targeting Langley, McLean, Madison, Marshall, Yorktown, West Springfield, Robbinston, or Lake Braddock are often watching these markets very closely. They know what sold last month, and they know which listings sat on the market. They also know what renovated homes command and the difference between a premium location and premium condition. So a strong school pyramid may help justify a price, but it does not justify any price. Northern Virginia buyers are analytical. Some might say they are among the most overeducated and analytical buyers anywhere in the country. They work in law, technology, government. They're not only looking at your kitchen cabinets, they're looking at the statistics, days on the market. They're looking at your price history. They're looking at comparable sales. They're looking at the condo fee. And the buyers are definitely looking at the commute and whether the house went active on a Thursday and somehow survived 2 weekends without an offer. Your days on market becomes a very important data point. And that data point starts to tell a story. By the 4th or 5th week, rightly or wrongly, buyers begin asking questions. Why has this home not sold? Is something wrong with the property? Is the seller being unrealistic? Did another buyer discover an inspection issue? Is the condo fee just too high? And importantly, is the seller about to reduce the price again? Sometimes nothing is seriously wrong with the home at all, but buyers begin inventing explanations. And once buyers expect another price reduction, many of them stop competing. They wait. That is devastating for a seller. Here's a practical example. Imagine a well-maintained colonial in West Springfield or Burke. Good school pyramid, 4 bedrooms, finished basement, 2-car garage, in a solid neighborhood. The evidence suggests that the home should sell around $875,000, but the seller sees a beautifully renovated property nearby sell for $950,000 just down the street. So the seller says, let's try $949,000. And the problem is that the seller's home is not the same as the renovated property. Maybe the kitchen is 20 years old. Maybe the bathrooms are functional but dated. Perhaps the roof is approaching the end of its useful life, or the landscaping needs attention. At $875, buyers might see opportunity. At $949, buyers see work. Same home, different emotional reaction. And by the time the seller gets around to reducing to $899 or $885,000, the most motivated buyers may already be under contract somewhere else. If your home is priced like a renovated property but requires $100,000, $150,000 in updates, buyers will not ignore that. A meaningful price reduction can absolutely help. Sometimes a listing just needs a reset, but a series of small reductions can be especially damaging. The seller reduces the price by $10,000, then another $15,000, then another $10,000. The listing keeps reappearing with just minor adjustments, but buyers do not see a new opportunity. They see a seller slowly conceding reality. At that point, the seller is no longer negotiating with buyers. The seller is negotiating against the seller. Before I became a real estate broker, I practiced law and real estate law. And one thing I learned is that you never want to enter a negotiation without leverage. You want evidence, you want facts, you want a strategy. You want to understand how the other side is likely to respond. In real estate, your initial price is part of your leverage. When you intentionally overprice a home without proper evidence, you're essentially walking into court with a weak argument and hoping that nobody notices. But just like judges, buyers notice, buyer agents notice, and the market notices. A strong pricing strategy should be built like a strong legal argument. What sold? What failed to sell? What received multiple offers? What required reductions? And how did condition affect the outcome? And what alternatives on the market will buyers compare against your home this weekend? That is the evidence. One of the most dangerous phrases that I hear from sellers is, "We are not in a rush." That sounds like strength, but it can become a real trap because the market may interpret it very differently. Buyers here, they may reduce eventually. Agents here, the seller has not accepted the evidence yet. And every week that the home sits, newer listings arrive. 2 weeks later, 3 similar homes may enter the market. The best sellers do not ask, what's the highest number we could put into the MLS? Instead, they ask, what price gives us the best chance of creating competition? Asking price is not the same thing as market value, and asking price is not the same thing as the sales price. In the competitive Northern Virginia market, a strategically positioned property may attract multiple buyers and generate a stronger result. On the other hand, an overpriced property may scare those same buyers away. You can reduce the price later. That is technically true, but you cannot become a new listing again. You cannot recreate the excitement of the first weekend on the market. You cannot recover the buyers who have already moved on, and you cannot force buyers to compete after you train them to wait. You cannot negotiate effectively once the market believes another price reduction is coming. After more than 2 decades in Northern Virginia real estate and years of supervising hundreds of agents as a managing broker, I've seen the same lesson repeat itself time and time again. The market eventually tells every seller the truth. The only question is whether you listen on day 1 or after 3 price reductions. If you're preparing to sell in Fairfax County, Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church, McLean, or anywhere else in Northern Virginia, and you want to see the actual evidence for your home's value rather than an aspirational number, reach out to me. Let's make sure you do not end up chasing the market downward. I'm Brian Block with the Block Real Estate Group, and I will see you in the next video.